You're finally awake. Welcome to Space Skyrim, a.k.a. the Starfield podcast here on Xbox The Box. My name is Potato, and I'm with my good friend, Alice. How you doing, Alice?
Hi. My pronouns are she, they, and yeah, so we decided to go for another limited one podcast. And so we decided to do a lot about Starfield, which is pretty much a hyped game of the year. So yeah, it would be really nice to talk about the game, what we do, those kind of things, because there's a lot of cover at the moment.
Oh yeah, we're really excited to talk about Starfield. I mean, spoilers for in a minute. I really enjoyed it. I think it's great. Just gonna say that. In spite of what IGN may say, which I'm gonna go on a bit of a rant about later, probably in the podcast. But yeah, we're really excited to do our first Starfield podcast. Ooh, yay! So we got a lot to cover. Alice has made a load of notes. I made some notes and then I got rid of them. So, hey, that'd be cool.
But anyway, I think normally we were going to cover news, sales, and whatnot, and usually too much information for the podcast. But the next podcast episode after this will definitely likely to go through the review stuff. But for this episode, it'll be impressions, our experiences trying to boot the game up, and then having to talk about everything we did in the first few hours. And that's our experiences. So let's begin. So, I
mean, here's my first impression. Arnold Schwarzenegger. What are you doing? Get me out of here. Get to the chopper. Oh, yeah, okay. Anyway.
So, to begin with, at the moment, we played Starfield as we bought the premium edition upgrade to our copies, which we got through Game Pass. Because this one not only contains extra content like Old Mars Pack, I think it was part of the pre-order, but the premium edition is where you have extra bits with it. I haven't had a check through it, but it does include a really nice feature as a reason for buying premium content is that you can play it early. So instead of 5th or 6th of September, you can play it on 1st of September, which you can play past midnight. So for us, because we live in the UK, it's 1 a.m. in the morning. So we went in, boot it up because it's been preloaded with updates. And then by the time we tried to play it on Xbox, it's we couldn't play it because it's too early. So you spammed on the game to start it up and then you went in. Then I have to wait another 10 minutes for me to boot it up. And that's even after hard resets, unplugging it from the mains. And it's just oh my gosh. I'd even tried to do workarounds. But now everyone should be able to play the game right now. Yeah.
So on the official Starfield page, they were like, okay, in the UK, Britain, GMT, BST, it'll be 1 a.m. You'll be available to play it. So we both literally logged in at 1 a.m., tried to start playing it. It took us about 20 minutes for it to load because it just kept saying, you're too early, you're too early. And I'm like, no, you're late. You said 1 o'clock. It's 20 past 1. Why am I not able to play? So I was getting a bit annoyed, but I eventually got on there. As you said, I got on there slightly before you. But it was fun. I would now we're on there. I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, it was a bit frustrating at first. As you said, hard resetting the Xbox, resetting it a couple of times, logging in, logging out, all that stuff. Nothing seemed to work. So I need to figure a workaround for the next time there's a big game like this that we want to play at 1 o'clock in the morning.
I've also been chatting with other people who also been playing it on Steam version, like Xbox Series X and S. Pretty much good performance, and it's a bit awkward. But for people on Steam, they have to unpack the game, and which took a while for them to do. And they also had problems with trying to boot the game because of this too early to start thing. So it's a bit different on how they can keep fixing it. Like you had to go to the premium page or premium content update page in order to launch it. And there was a lot of trial error to get it out. But because it was a bit of a novelty thing where you buy premium edition and you get early access, it just seems as if they have really worked out how they can apply this improved launch date for us to play, apply it to both Xbox and Steam. So, but at least it's something that they would need to work on in order to make the experience better. Like, I mean, Starfield is supposed to be right on the door when we get to play it, but I just don't know whether it's the client side or the fact we have to wait for the server side to issue the right for us to play the game. But I just honestly think this is a bit awkward.
Yeah, it was a bit of a pain to get on there, but we got on there eventually, and when we got on there, we enjoyed our experience. I personally enjoyed my experience. So you wanted to mention there's your accessibility limit.
When you begin the game, you have a set of options and you can like change settings. So I don't know about the PC's version, but I think it's just like you have to do some tweaks and not relying on things like NVIDIA. But I think people on AMDs are having some kind of issues with trying to run the game with a good performance. But for Xbox, it's like, it's okay. The field of view option is a bit mixed because you don't easily do that on the PC version, but Xbox version, I think you can change it, but I haven't researched into it still because this is only a few hours into it. But yeah, as you're saying, the accessibility options there is that you only have like subtitles, it lets you turn off motion blur and those bits. I mean, it does allow larger text because the text is like really small, but you had to do it from the main menu in order to do the thing, but I'll be experimenting with it. But what I did find it annoying in the game is that I know in the world you can like highlight items when you get to scan with your materials, but when you just go into the game, I think it may be locked behind the perks, but you cannot easily see the items unless you have to examine very carefully and see if you can find an item that you can interact with. Like when it comes to items you can pick up, you can find them on the counters and everything. But when it comes to like saves, chests and everything, you don't have outlines, and it's even like don't have a scan thing. And it's just almost as if you have to rely on the perk in order to...
Also with that, if you play the third person mode, it's almost impossible to figure out what you're picking up or what you're looking at.
Exactly.
There's no way of doing it. There's no highlight. I get that. It's annoying.
Just a quick update. You can use the scan mode to highlight any items during gameplay, so you'll be able to see outlines through a small reticle. But you had to use the scan mode with limited peripheral version in scan mode in order to highlight any items. So the issue with no outlines in the accessibility settings still stands. I'll bring you back to the podcast.
You're talking about accessibility. There's no it doesn't seem to be any brightness slider, at least not in the in-game. Maybe you have to go to the main menu to do it. But it's like the game, when we were at the beginning of the game, you start off in a mine. I couldn't see certain areas because it was too dark, and I wanted to put the brightness up a little bit, and there's no option for that. So that was kind of annoying. Also, there's a bit of a lack of colorblind mode as well, which... There could be some color coding with the items or something that tells if it's going to be stone, that it's want to see if we do that. But I think it's still important, like when it comes to colorblind mode, is that you need to like allow the limitation of colors, like even the black and white, just to make sure you can easily identify with a limited color set. And there doesn't seem to be any like colorblind mode for it. Which means, that is annoying. Like, if you go in the game and then somehow you're expected to tell the difference between the red and the blue objects, that would be really a bit of a problem because you just cannot be able to distinguish there unless you have visual hints with it. So I don't know if this is something that Bethesda would have to, like, step in and sort it out. But I don't know whether they would have hesitated because they don't want to make a game too easy for other people. But I think to me, like... It's just something to do with visual and audio aids just to make sure that people can get around the game better. But the game's already got a steep learning curve of it as anyway. So I think it's not really that accessible compared to like Skyrim or even like Fallout 3. But well, Fallout 3 is a bit tricky too because you had to deal with the radiation side of things. Yeah, I think I want to make sure that people realize that we I mean, I like this game. I'm assuming you like this game as well. It just sounds like we're being super negative at the moment. We're like, we haven't actually talked much about the actual game. It is frustrating they don't have them at the moment, but I'm sure they'll add them at a later date. I'm sure if enough people ask for it.
I'm just trying to be modest
mods.
here because I think we need to bring out what our actual feelings with it. So we can't say really toxic positive about this whole thing. Let's move on and just focus on what is actually a bit positive here is the character creator.
I love it.
To begin with, you only have a few presets and you can finish, but actually you still have to do the traits and of course I think it was the class there, but yeah, you have to you can choose a different presets and you have about 40 there. Mine's on 38, but then when I clicked on the next screen, it's just you have to go between a fair, muscular, or a bit of a weighted build as well. But then there's body styles, one which is I assume is the male, and 2 is for the female. So I think that's a sex option. And then the extra one is the walking styles. So you either walk in a more masculine way or you walk in a more feminine way. So I went 2-2, and that's about it. Oh yeah, there's a skin tone as well. So it's just more grounded.
There's lots of options.
So, but then the next screen you have extra features changing your facial appearance. I don't think it allows for extra body modification. So it's just more a extension of the Skyrim character creator. But when you go through, it's just go through all the gameplay settings, and then what is really good, and some of the other games don't have, is that when you begin the game, you can get to decide on the name, and you can choose pronouns, which means it affects the dialogue where you'll be referred to as a girl, a person, or the man there. So I think this is really good. And I think it's
pretty cool.
And it's a bit more progressive than the previous game too, so it's quite good.
It's a lot more inclusive, which I like that. So, as I said, we got a bit negative on the accessibility, but it's nice that they're a bit more inclusive with the character creator. So they're doing some things right, which is good.
Also, there's a couple of things there. Is that in terms of the character creator, I still find that Cyberpunk 2077 to be more expressive. You not only change your face, you also deal with your body, and it also has a more fluidity of your gender too. So, but it also gives you tips whether you'll be likely to be referred to as a girl or the man there. And I think those tips there just helps to make sure that people will affirm to their ideal gender in the whole game. But there is one thing that is really me really validate, is that in the main city of the game, which we'll get to, which is New Atlantis, you go to the genetics salon and and then you just go in and you can just modify your body, and that goes through the same settings again. It's kind of annoying because it refers to default values, but you can change all things, including your face, your body sex, and even your skin tone. And you can do all those things as if you're refreshing your character, and you can choose to have a new name or have different pronouns. And guess how much that cost?
I think it was 500 credits, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's not much, which is great. Obviously, for people who haven't played the game yet, 500 credits is not a lot of money. It's you can get that in about 10 minutes, I think. So it's a pretty good option to have that. So you can change your character pretty much at any point, because that's really early in the game. That is when you get to New Atlantis.
Exactly, because you don't have to be on the waiting list for 2 years, or even in the game you had to progress through all the quests, or even go to specific cities, and you even either have to go private and you pay thousands of pounds. Whereas if you go in this game, it costs only a price of a food item, and you get 500 credits, and you can change your entire appearance.
It's pretty good.
Now that is what I call a future of gender affirming healthcare.
Yeah, I mean that'd be pretty. I mean, they are 300 years in the future, so hopefully we would have sorted all that stuff out. I hope at that point.
I hope so too.
Yeah, so I haven't experienced any bugs, but you have. Have you? It says you've
It's just a
experienced
minor
one
bug because, like, for me, it's just when I visited my parents during the crash, like, went in and visited them. I try to go to the lift, which usually automatically opens for me. But when I get over to them, the doors remained closed. So I stepped out for a while, and then the doors opened for me. So I entered out the lift. But apart from that, that's the only bug I noticed.
I've been playing it for about 4 or 5 hours, and I've had a total of 0 bugs so far. So I'm quite happy with it so far. It seems really polished.
I think that most of the bugs many people experience seems to come from the PC version, because I think there was huge visual bug, and I don't know if that's to do with the PC version of the game, but I've been chatting to some of the people who are on the PC version, and they did experience crashes to desktop while they were playing the game. So it just seems as if the PC version is less reliable. But when it comes to the Xbox version, it's actually like much more polished. So I think if anything, I recommend playing the Xbox version. And if you're on PC, might be worth waiting for either the update or wait for the community to come up with a mod that fixes bugs as well as performance bugs as well with the whole game. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, as I said, I can't really speak for PC, but Xbox, there seems to be no bugs whatsoever as far as I've seen so far. Granted, I've only been playing it for a day so far, so maybe I'll come across a bug at a later date, but at the moment, I've not had any issues. I'm going to say that now, and the next time I play it, I'm going to have like a massive game-breaking bug or something. But at the moment, I have no issues. Yeah. So let's talk about our characters we've built. So I think that'll be fun, because, well, that's what, like... So I haven't really got many notes, but I did take screenshots so I could have a look at them. So my character, I mean, you already mentioned, Jules, you went for type 2. Yeah, you made type 2, which was like female, body type, female, walk, motion, and then, you mentioned that basic. So we're talking about. So when out of the 40 customizable faces at the beginning, I wasn't really a fan of any of them, to be honest. It took me ages to pick one. I ended up picking one which had like a mullet. He looks really stupid, and I was like, I'll just pick this one. And then I just changed everything on the editing screen. I made my guy look just like me. Yeah, I went with options 1. I made him chunky, because I wanted to make him as much like me as possible. I didn't go for a big muscular guy. I went for a fat slob. Why not? I try role play as myself in these games. I feel like I get like some people like to role play as different people or different like characters and stuff, but I like to role play as myself. So I got the guy. He's got a beard. He's got brown. He looks just like. Well, I tried to make him look like as close to me as I could. And then I went with the name Potato, even though that's not my real name, obviously.
You could have called yourself Sputnik.
Oh, that's a good one. It's too late now.
Well, you should have visited the genetics salon to change your name to Sputnik. Yeah. But speaking of which,
about customer creation, character creation, you did say it's like Skyrim, but I did have a thought though. You said that, but you can't make yourself into a cat person or a lizard person like you could in Skyrim.
There's no fantasy races, so it's really similar to Fallout, where it's all humans from there, and I think it's a bit disappointing. I have to explore the skin tones where you can set yourself white, red, or blue, or like the Kree from the Marvel comics. But if that doesn't have any of it, then it's just like, that's a shame, because you can't really make yourself look
or something.
Yeah, exactly. You can't really make yourself look alien, and I don't know if that's the case with Mass Effect. I don't remember, but I think you can make yourself alien in like Destiny games.
Yeah. What's interesting is that we talk about like aliens and stuff haven't really been mentioned in the actual pre-launch or anything like that. But there is a perk or a background that it has alien. No, I think it's a trait actually.
It's alien DNA. It's DNA, actually a class, I think.
Yeah, that's what was interesting. So they have referenced aliens in this. So they, I mean, obviously they might
actually
be
is
like
a
the
trait.
bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it might just be like the aliens just look like giant crabs and stuff, like giant enemy crab. But like,
Or it could look like a bunch of people from like Frieza's army from Dragon Ball. Like you have like
Yeah.
ones that look like humans, only they have some mutant bits on themselves, or even have different skin colors.
yeah. So basically we both found. Did you go for pink hair in the end as well?
Actually, I went for the
Oh, a brunette.
bit of a light brunette, but then I went over to the
nice.
genetic salon so I can like change my nose and make my hair red.
Ah, nice. I like that.
Did you use the genetic salon for anything?
No, I built my character the way I liked it at the beginning, and I haven't touched it yet. I've just left it the way it is. I'm quite happy with him. I said he looks quite like me. I think he looks more attractive than me, which is annoying. It's like, why did I have to make someone so sexy? God damn. My girlfriend mentioned that my beard doesn't look anywhere as nice as the beard as my character's. It's like your character beard looks way better than yours. It's like, thanks. Thanks for that. It's like, ugh, I'm so annoyed. But yeah, so that's what our characters look like. But let's talk about our backgrounds. I'm really intrigued. So you chose. Should I go first, or do you want to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
So I wanted to be a bounty hunter. I thought that would look the most rad. I wanted to do space combat. I wanted to get a perk that had boost pack, because everyone says boost pack is really important, and it is. It's very useful to have a boost pack.
I think you had to get a perk in order to activate it, though. Do you?
Exactly. Yeah, and the bounty hunter has that perk. And bounty hunter has targeting computer, which is like the VATs in Fallout, but for space. So you can aim at certain parts of the ships. And I have piloting, so I'm a good pilot, and I have boost pack. So basically all my stuff are like ship related or vehicle related. But I thought it was really cool. I wanted to be kind of like Han Solo, you know. I wanted to be like live the Han Solo fantasy and be a bounty hunter. Even though you can be a scoundrel, can't you? I think that's one of the options, which would be more like Han Solo or a smuggler. But I know bounty hunter was fun. I thought be a bounty hunter would be really cool.
I think you've felt good about it, really.
Yeah, but hey, or Django. Oh, was it Mandalorian?
Mandalorian.
I don't know. I can think of a good pun.
You know, I think it will make a good Mandalore out of your character, though, with that background.
Hey, some Mandalore background. Anyway, yeah, and also what was interesting when I went to Mars. Could you ask to Mars? When I got to Mars, I spoke to this lady like on the side, and she was talking about bounty hunter missions, and it actually gave me the option to be like, "Oh yeah, I'm a bounty hunter," and it actually helped with my conversation perk with her. So that was really good. So your backgrounds do affect later things in the game. So I'm not that far into it, but yeah, like as I said, there's a woman who's a bounty hunter on Mars. And me mentioning I'm a bounty hunter really helped with that, which was cool. But yeah, I was quite happy with the bounty hunter perk. I think that was the one I wanted to go with. Next playthrough one might be a Ronin or something. That might be interesting. I don't know. But you went with something completely different, though, didn't you?
Yeah, well, before we get that, like, you've been to Mars, so is it possible you can visit Earth in the game?
I mean, spoiler alert, no. I don't know. I haven't got that far yet. I've been to Mars, and and then I'm going to Venus now, and so I'm in our actual solar system at the moment, but I haven't seen what's happened to Earth, but I have heard stuff like before the game even came out. I had a theory that Earth's been destroyed, or at least being like everyone on Earth is dead. For as far as I think that was a theory I was floating about before the game came out. So, but I'm not sure. I haven't been to Earth yet, but I'm pretty sure that Earth is gone as far as I'm aware, or at least no one lives there anymore, which is really sad.
Anyway, so my character is...
Bummer.
I went the background of Pilgrim, and...
Pilgrim?
It's just a bit of a tricky one, because you either go cooker or explorer, but I went for the Pilgrim because I think it's the balance between dealing with resources and exploration, and I think this is something I like to take away from it. And I don't really want to get into a lot of combat, but after like visiting one planet, it's just like you always often like go into like pirates or dogfights. So you're just going to end up doing combat whether you like it or not. But then again, it's just like I just customized my characters, so it's just like more focused on science of resources. So I chose the pilgrim, so it's just like better for exploration and resource management. Also went
we went totally different directions. I love it.
Yeah,
I love how we went totally different ways with our characters.
yes.
You're a lot more sensible. I'm all a bit more like, yay, jetpacks! Woohoo!
Yeah. Well, as for the traits, I did not go for the alien DNA, which I thought it's cool, but it does have some like drawbacks of it. But I then with Terra, wherever this thing is, it's an opposite of space, where you get better benefits. Yeah, that's right. This one that gives me more oxygen and health when inside a planet and not in space. And it turns out it's actually a much better perk because you're exploring the planets most of the time. But then I also went for introvert, where if you spend more time on your own, you have more oxygen. But when you have companions, it's just like you have less oxygen. And I think it's probably due with anxiety. But then it's just like, but then the people are saying like, oh, you should have ended it extrovert because you end up having companions through your journey. It's just like, makes it easier. But I think it's just more me really, but you're going introvert and planet bound, especially I don't want to travel too much. Fair. But I also went for kid stuff, and this gives me a mum and a dad.
Parents, yay. I like all those perks. So terra firma, as you said, it makes you better on planet, but in space you get reduced stats, which is kind of sad. And then you went, what was the other one you went for?
Introvert.
Introvert. Oh yeah, I get that. That's cool. I was tempted by those ones, I must say, but I don't know if I said this to you last night when we were talking about the game before we actually did the podcast. I didn't want to have any perks that would be a detriment to like my stats, because I didn't know how much time I'd be spending in space, how many times I'd be spending with my crewmates and stuff, you know. So I kind of just went for like a bit more neutral kind of perks, because I didn't want to like go, oh, I'll have worse stats on Earth because I don't know, like when I'm on planets, because I don't know how often I'm going to be on the planet, you know. But I think you did it. I think that's an interesting set of perks you picked, I must say.
Well, some of the perks,
how are you finding them?
I think some of the perks can be like related to the quest lines. But yeah, to answer the question about the perks so far, I think it's really good early game stuff. But then it just depends if you want to do certain things. Like it's good for me when it comes to exploring planets, because I want perks that makes it easier for me to look after myself and explore planets. But I think it's really difficult because I don't want to go for any of the perks that's likely to put me at the disadvantage. But the kids stuff, it's just like you get a house and you have parents, but you end up like having parents with you. But like you got somewhere to stay, but you also like have to give them money every week, which you could choose to remove this trait, and I'm like, probably not. But
it's only 2% money though. Apparently, it's not a lot, and apparently they do stuff for you later in the game. I don't know what exactly, but apparently they do become useful at some point, which is nice.
Well, that's why I'm going to mention the first effects of it. Is that it just really works in the similar manner to my parents. Like they talk about family, and they're like really like temperate and like talk about through things, but they also like get really interested in what I do. Like I joined the Constellation. My mum's like, I dreamt of joining the Constellation as a girl, and there's also one thing where my father's just like gave me a special gun, and that's cool. Then
I haven't got that gun yet. How'd you get that? I need to get that.
I think it's from him, and I think it was like chatting really nicely to him. But when I just went down to the lodge and went downstairs to like use the crafting tables, like, oh, I made some food. I turned around and I'm like, oh, is it Noelle or some sort? She came over just to delivering the note, just to tell me to come over to my dad to talk to him about something happening. And like, okay. And then we're just talking about like the meatloaf recipe. So it just seems as if they're getting more involved with the Constellation.
I didn't know. I haven't got that far yet. So how am I ahead of you in some ways, but behind you in other ways? That's weird. Okay, well, I haven't done that yet. That's really interesting. I'm looking forward to doing that. I've met up with my parents. My traits, I also have kid stuff. So I've met up with my parents as well. Both our dads look very similar, apart from yours has like what you made it in your notes. You said like, I'm looking at your notes now.
I think it's a bit randomly generated, but I was kind of thinking as if
Dad's
it's like
lips and nose look different
based on your characters, but I don't know how exactly it works. So
yeah, I think they do base it on your characters a bit, but they're not both. I think every time I've seen the mother and the father, they've looked very similar. They just have like slightly different facial features. And they got like the same haircut, the same clothes, the same. And I think mine are a bit chunkier than yours as well, because I went for chunky. So my parents are fat in the game. But they're like the same. They look the same, but they're fat with like different eye color and different nose shape. That's about it, really. So they did say they were going to customize your parents, but they haven't made it that. It's not that drastic of a difference. I thought they would look totally different depending on who you like played as, but. Well, they look pretty similar so far.
My mother's just like a bit, sorry, he's just like a bit more rendered or some sort like that, but she has like shorter hairs. But my dad in this game is just like got a really thinned out head, but the weirdest thing like so far is that his lips are so massive you can't actually see his upper lip. It just often touches his nose like whenever he chats, and it's just like so weird. It's just like almost watching I think it's a pufferfish, and it's just like touches on the nose. It's just so uncanny.
Yeah, that video of the pufferfish eating carrots. Nom, 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 nom.
You mentioned that, and it sounds like as if he's been stung by a wasp.
Oh no. So I got kid stuff as well. That's an interesting perk. I think it's worth it in the long run, I think, apparently. But
there's also a dream house perk as well that you can get a house, and apparently it's like worth a lot of credits, and I don't know whether you can sell it or some sort like that, but you get a house to begin with the game. But
I was tempted, but it's 125,000 credits. You have repayment every week apparently, which is a lot of money.
It's something I just decided to not go with.
I was tempted.
I already spent all my credits on getting more weapons and ammo, and also get some better looks, like a spacesuit and a helmet. But it's nice so you can change skins or add mods to them. So it's just really nice. When it comes to money, I just be going around every building, every ship, everything, and then just buy stealing statues off the shelf and stuff. It's like, ooh, that's worth couple of hundred quid. Steal that, and then just sell it for a couple of hundred quid. It's like, yeah. It just makes me think, if I get so far ahead in the game that I mastered lock picking, I can just come over and master pickpocketing. And I can steal clothes from people just like I did in Skyrim. So I removed armor for all the guards in Winterfell.
That's hilarious. Of course, I was gonna say something that I can't remember now. Oh, that's annoying. But yeah, my other perks I got. So I did the silly thing. I got hero worship. Oh, it's the great spaceman. Oh, I got the bloody hero worshipping guy following me around, talking about how great I am all the time. It's like, I'm so honored to be breathing the same air as you. I'm like, oh god, shut up. But I use him as a pack mule. He even says, I'll be your pack mule. I need to learn how a pack mule mules. It's like, okay, cool. I just basically chucked all my crap on him, so I won over Clumbert. So here you go, you take it. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, I literally just before we started recording, I on the ship, I didn't realize you had two different sets of inventory. Yes. So I've been putting everything in my private locker. The captain's locker. I thought that was the only part of inventory we had in the ship, but actually there's inventory of the whole ship as well. which you can access from like shops and stuff. So I'm like, I should have put everything in the in that instead of the captain's locker. So I basically filled the captain's locker with crap, and I've now figured out that's not what I should be doing.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Because what I know is that I started out with the inventory, and then my pockets are really small, so it gets filled up pretty much really quickly. Then I just found out my Frontiers like got a cargo storage where you can store even more items in it. But it's not that intuitive because in Skyrim you have houses and you have chests to fill it up with. But in this one, you go to your ship, press start to access the inventory, and then you click on cargo hold by the left bumper, and that's where you can like store items from your inventory to the ship's inventory and vice versa. And this one is not that intuitive, to say at least.
Have you found the captain's locker? Because you've got a locker by your where you pilot the ship. Just behind there is a locker where you can put all your own stuff in. You want to keep as well.
Is it a touch screen?
Storage.
Is it a screen that is
on
the
like
left?
A little locker on the. No, it's a little yellow locker on the floor by where you pilot the ship.
Oh, is it on the floor? Because I thought it was on the right.
Yeah, to your right. It's on your right on the floor, a yellow locker, and you can put all your stuff in there. I've been putting all my stuff in there instead of putting it in the actual ship. And that's why I had run out of... I was like, why am I running out of inventory space? I shouldn't be running out of space. I didn't realise you could store it in a different way. So, yeah. It's a bit confusing, but I'm enjoying it. So, yeah, I got Hero Worshipper. I got the really annoying guy saying, I love you. I love you. I want to follow you around. And I go, do you find me... Are you interested in me romantically? And he goes, no, far from it.
Wait, you really just literally said that?
Yeah, he goes, oh no, but I think you're great, but I don't want a romantic relationship. It's like, thank God. Thank God for that. He's such a weirdo. But I thought logically, it's like, it's another crewmate. He might be annoying, but he gets me free stuff. And I could just leave him on a planet somewhere at some point. I'll probably build a outpost at some point. I'll just leave him there. And then I don't have to talk to him, so it's fine.
Do you think he may end up buying you some lingerie or some sort?
I don't know. He might buy me some roses or something and a box of chocolates, and I'm like, go away, leave me alone. And then the other perk I picked was Neon Street Rats. Basically, I'm from the city. Basically, gives me a background of I was born in the city of Neon, basically, and I was like born on the streets. Yeah, boy, on the streets, rough. I thought I'd go with a background trait. I thought that'd be a more interesting one to have. I like the fact none of us went for the religious traits, which I thought was interesting.
Nah, I'm not ready for that yet.
I'm not really into the religious stuff, so if they had like an atheist perk, I would have totally gone for that. I think that would be more my thing.
It sounds a bit like quest lines to me, so... But I don't know if there's some kind of quest line as, like, I think you either go with the barbarians or the Imperials in Skyrim. Like, you had to pick one of these quest lines and then reach that outline. So
I think if I had to pick a religion in this game, I'd pick the one that worships the giant snake, because that just sounds crazy and creepy. I love it.
What's that other religion?
Like the mental ones. It's like 3 religions to pick between. One of them worships a space snake that created everything. It's so stupid. I love it.
Is it the one that eats its own tail like an Ouroboros?
I think so. Yeah. I wouldn't pick that, but if I'm gonna pick, maybe if I do a second playthrough, I might do that. I might be a snake worshipper because they're so weird.
Do you know there's other religions too?
Yeah, there's 3 religions, I believe. I don't know what the other 2 are about.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
There is 3 religions, though. Yeah, you're right. There's what? Universal. So Serpent, which is the one I was just talking about, Enlightened and Universal. And I didn't pick any of them, but it's interesting that that's a trait that people could... that is an interesting trait to have. If any of you guys have picked a religious trait, let us know in the comments below. I'd love to know what kind of effects they have on you.
Anyway,
as a character.
There's a robot that I think it comes to the name. I can't remember this.
Vasco.
Yeah, it just follows you everywhere and gives you like support in the early missions.
I like
but
Vasco.
once you meet up with the constellation, you are like on your own. So I imagine they would just like join you on like at the main story missions. But I just got the question I asked is that how useful is it the fan from the hero worshipper perk? Like, how useful is he? Like, is he like any different compared to your Fesco robot kind of thing? Is like any better or not?
He just doesn't shut up. That's about the only thing. He just keeps talking. It's like I'm like I was looking away from the screen on my phone, and I wasn't talking. He goes, "I love how silent you are, and how you're such an attentive listener." I'm like, Jesus Christ, shut up. Yeah, he's just super annoying. That's like his whole thing. Not really got much to him. I just basically, I said I haven't really took him on missions with me. I've just left him on the ship. I just thought it'd be useful to have an extra crewmate to like pilot the ship and stuff. That was another thing. I just finished the mission, went on my ship, and I got 2 new crewmates, and I don't even like. Who are you? What are you doing on my ship? What the hell? Just 2 random people just appeared on my ship out of nowhere. It's like, oh yeah, I'm helping you with your ship now. It's like, since when? I didn't hire you. Who are you? Who are these people? It's funny though.
Well, to me,
what do you think of Sarah? I think it's Sarah is the main character.
we'll get on to that in another episode because we haven't touched the main story missions that extensively yet. But yeah, I think all the people at the Constellation is really nice. But apparently you have to chat to all of them so you can like unlock more features. But to me, it's just I got as far as the Constellation, and then I just went around collecting credits and trying to explore things like crafting, for instance. But I got as far as like exploring 2 planets. The first planet is just went over to a frozen planet, and like couldn't get much. It's really cold. But then I just went in to collect resources, and then when I came back to, well, I think I only went around the circle and then went back to the ship. But then I met up with a friendly cat in the ship, and so like, oh, hi there. And there's a mini girl. It's just like, would you like to have some lemonade? And offers it for either 5 credits or 500 credits. So I was like trying to play kind and say, here we go, 500 credits. And then she's pleased. And I then added that, oh, you made my day. And it's just like, yeah, he's really happy and just left. Then I went over to another planet, and there's a huge debris. So I went around to gather some like supplies in space. Then I went over and explored so far just to collect those resources, including mercury. But then I went to the outpost, and there's pirates everywhere out in the open. So I couldn't be able to like kill them all. So I had to step out and just continue exploring. So I had to get more levels before I can tackle this whole thing, which is supposed to be level 5. I came in at level 4, so, but then I went back and did a few bits before I finished for the day.
I love that. Like, you just decided you're going to go on random planets and just explore. I basically just been following the story so far. So I basically, obviously at the beginning of the game, you meet Barrett, like minor spoilers, because it's literally like really early game here. So you meet Barrett, then you get the ship and you fly off. And then I went to Constellation. Then I did I basically just followed the main objectives mainly. There was a bit where I was speaking to a bartender in Mars, just talking to him. And out of nowhere, someone just showed up and goes, "You're under arrest. We're taking you to jail." I'm like, what? What have I done? I haven't done anything. So I was like, no, fuck you. And then started shooting him. And then the whole Mars colony just went crazy. I was like, what's going on? I think I accidentally picked up something in front of the bartender and stole it when I didn't mean to, because I was in third person at the time. And I think that's what triggered it off. But I basically, I was in the middle of a conversation, in the middle of a plot conversation, trying to continue the plot, and then suddenly out of nowhere I got arrested, and I'm not. You're not taking me alive, copper. You're not taking me alive.
Yeah. Well, to me,
so that was fun.
It just reminds me. I did a couple of side missions. The first thing I went into this clothing shop in the spaceport, and I just met up with someone who's like, "Oh, I want you to collect the painting from someone." So I went over to the Trading Union or Trading Institute in the, I think it's in the Well, which is like a pretty much a underground floor of a New Atlantis. So I just went over to collect the painting and went back to the guy, and it's like, oh, you just make sure you don't mention this or try to be secretive. And it's just like doing a black market affair. But I did that side mission. Then I went over to someone, which I thought is the main quest line, but it's actually about someone who's like examining the tree and think like,
What?
yeah, he's examining the tree. It feels as if the tree's going to grow so much that it would destroy the city. So I went over, collect the biosensors that are shaped like eggs, brought it over to him, and it's just like, oh, done the mission, got credits. There's another mission where there's another researcher who's examining there, and I have to get some like data from him. So I went over there, asked me to go into the Met to like steal some data. Then I successfully persuaded him just to not do this stupid mission because that involves doing crime. And it's like, okay, just hear this data, and I got credits. So yeah, a bit of persuasion helps.
Yeah, there's not many. So I haven't done any of those missions, and then there was a mission on Mars that I'm assuming you haven't done. You haven't been to Mars yet, have you?
No.
So I spoke to the bounty hunter, and she was like, "I need help proving that there's someone on this planet. So you need to plant a beacon on top of this tower. You need to make sure you have a jetpack so you can get up there." And all I literally did was just climb a tower and then pull it, and then push the A button at the top. That was the whole mission. 2,000 credits, pretty nice. But yeah, it's just like it's cool that we played it for a couple of hours. We've got totally different experiences, which is awesome, and that's what I love about these type of games.
Now that leads me to having this short summary of impressions of this game because we're heading towards an hour. So, what are your impressions on this game so far after a few hours?
So, I was just about to say this as well, so it's perfectly timed, I guess. That a lot of people, I listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff, and a lot of people say that they have a Bethesda game, a Bethesda game that they play all the time, and it's like their favorite Bethesda game. I think this is my Bethesda game. I mean, this is the one that is going to be the one I complete. I've never completed a Bethesda game. I loved Skyrim, and I really enjoyed Fallout and stuff. I never finished them. I literally played it for like an hour or so and then stopped playing it. I've been playing it for about 4 or 5 hours today, and I'm really enjoying it, and I can't see myself stopping playing it until I've completed it. This is my Bethesda game. This is the game I've been waiting for. I'm a huge sci-fi fan. I prefer sci-fi to fantasy, and I think I prefer this setting to Fallout, and I like the idea of exploring the galaxy. I'm really loving it so far. All the reviews I've been seeing have been like saying that the beginning is really boring and bad, but I'm loving it so far. I don't see what they're seeing. I'm really loving it so far. I would say this is like 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 for me for sure. I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10 yet because we're still early days, but I think it might be a 10 out of 10. Yeah, I'm enjoying the heck out of this. I'm loving this. I love space travel. I love the story's really interesting. The world's really interesting. And just seeing all these new places all the time. It's like you're never in the same place for, like on the same planet for ever too long, There's always something new to see, and it's really fascinating, really cool to me. I'm loving it. So yeah, 9 out of 10 at the moment, maybe 10 out of 10, maybe 8 out of 10 next week. We will see. After I've had a week of playing it, I'll give you an official review, but at the moment, a temporary 9 out of 10. How about you?
Well, I think it's more of a 9 out of 10 for me in the moment. But it's interesting you mentioned about the reviews and said, like, the beginning is slow, but I think it's probably because you have to go through the first few missions and get to be introduced to the game. Like, you had to go through the constellation, and you have to, introduce yourself to them, and then you have the rest of the game to explore. But I think to me, it's more of a steep learning curve because user interface is actually really neat. It has a good amount of information in, but you still have to go through like the complexities of things and the controller interface. Like, I still couldn't figure out like how you switch weapons unless you had to put them into their favorites D-pad.
Yeah, D-pads, yeah.
And
that could be a bit frustrating. Yeah, you can favorite them as the D-pad, yeah, as you said, but
yeah, it's also
there's so many weapons to pick between.
Yeah, it's also that it's really like it doesn't have a lot of intuition. It's just like you have to figure out things, which it took me about 10, 20 or 30 minutes to figure out that I can store inventory in the ship. And then I had to figure out how exactly am I going to do that? And it's just not very easy to do. Also, some of the tool tips or markers where you can get to people are like really confusing. So I went into circles before I can find out where I can continue with the next mission or something like that. So, but also the controls are a bit complicated. But when I got into it, it's just like how easy it is to like hide or show your weapon or use scan feature to like put outposts and everything. But apart from that, it's just like it's not that really that accessible, and it would take some time for you to get used to the whole game. But yeah, I like the aesthetics, and I think the new Atlantis is just like a tip of the iceberg to how the style looks like. But I think most of the time it just feels more like the way it's like polished. Like graphics are better, but it's just quite close in style to Fallout than in Skyrim. Because I think there's a lot of things like the way the lock picking is concerned, how you interact with the computers. It's just like it feels more Fallout, and it's just many people are making comparisons to Fallout 4, and I feel this is what many people who actually play Fallout 4 would actually feel, that this is very similar in towards like Fallout 4. But what I did find is that the lock picking aspects, it's puzzles instead of like doing guessworks or doing like making sure you put into like exact positions. Like in Oblivion, you had to push up pillars in the lock to lock them, which is really tricky. But then in things like Skyrim or Fallout, you had to turn the key into the lockpick and open it. But in Starfield, it's just like, you get to use a right-hand stick. It took me a while to figure out too. You use a
I think it's. I like it. It's like so. So you said about Skyrim. It's like you have to the vibration, isn't it? Like you need to get it to the right place so it vibrates. So you know where to click it, which is not quite good. I like the new puzzle system. It's like you get. I need to explain if that's
okay.
Trying to explain it to people.
It's just like you have on the right hand side is that you get 4 patterns with all these pegs, and you have to make sure the pegs fill in those holes. But you can't do any of those pegs in. It has to be all the pegs go in the holes at once, which is why you get circles where you use a right-hand thumbstick to make sure all the pegs fill in those holes, and you fill in the rest of the holes. And once you complete it, you use the rest of the patterns to fit in those holes, and you can unlock the whole thing. So it does require a bit of a determination and making sure like you have all those pegs to fill in all those holes. So it's not like you can easily go for anything you think it works, but you have to make sure it's something that makes the rest of the holes much easier to fill in. So I find the lock picking is much better. Also found the dialogue screens to be an improvement. It's like a balance between Oblivion and Skyrim, because these are games I've played a lot. Oblivion is like you get zoomed in into a person's nostrils, like, oh god, that is really uncanny. You have to see their faces. But then in Skyrim, it's like, oh, just switch your camera over to them, and sometimes you have a person walking past them, and it's like, oh, it's not great. But in Starfield, it's just like you have this it's really perfect. The way it's zoomed to the people's faces and how the camera transitions, that is really good. The other thing is, like, you can control the camera, but sometimes it's not centered on other people's faces. But the dialogue options there is, like, really clear. And even the persuasion is, like, it doesn't treat it like a huge mini game, but you have to make choices and take risks. Like, whether it's harder to persuade, but you end up getting more rewards for it. So it's just those things. Just, like, makes it really interesting.
I love the new puzzle system and the precision minigame is really good. I think they're both really good. I think the lock picking, I think, is my favorite lock picking system they've done in a Bethesda game, I think. And the persuasion thing is interesting. I haven't quite got around to it properly yet. I've only tried it once and I failed, so I need to try it with a couple more NPCs to try to get used to it. Really intriguing. I really enjoyed this game. What would you rate it out of 10? So you said 9, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a tentative rating, but I just have to like play more and see whether it deserves a 10. But to me, compared to Tears of the Kingdom, Tears of the Kingdom it still has the same amount of complexity and trying to get through the whole map. And I haven't got into it that much. I really wanted to get back into it, but I haven't managed to. But with this one, like, everything falls into place. If you play Skyrim and Fallout, it's much easier to know the mechanics there. And I ended up spending more hours, and I'm still more interested to play more of it. So I would say Starfield is more addictive to me than Tears of the Kingdom at the moment. How would you feel about it?
I was going to mention Tears of the Kingdom, actually, because you were talking about the intros of the games. It's kind of fascinating to me that this is like a sequel. This is like a sequel to Fallout and Skyrim and all that. And they always have quicker tutorials, whereas everyone says the tutorial in this game is too long. But it's like the same thing with Tears of the Kingdom. That game got 10 out of 10s everywhere. I loved Tears of the Kingdom, by the way, probably my game of the year. But the beginning is very long in Tears of the Kingdom.
I agree.
You got to get the full shrines, and then you got to get there's like loads of cutscenes. There's like the intro, then there's another cutscene, then another cutscene. Then you got to find the full shrines. Then you got to explore the ground, and then you can get the paraglider, and then you're free to explore. So that's like 3 or 4 hours before you're literally let loose to just explore the place. And I don't think that's a negative for Tears of the Kingdom, and I don't think the tutorials are that much of a negative for Starfield. Honestly, I think people are slagging it off, but
exactly, I agree.
The people are slagging it off for people weren't like giving minus points for the tutorial of Zelda, but they're giving minus points to the Starfield tutorial, even though I think they're both very similar, and I think they both work quite well, even though they are longer. I'm enjoying both games. I think they're both great. They're both the top 2 games of the year so far for me. But yeah, I can't wait to play more. I'm really looking forward to finishing the podcast so I can actually do some more Starfield. I'm really looking forward to playing some more of it.
Yeah, I think we should wrap this up now because we're hoping for 30 minutes and there was so much to talk about. And this one could run for 6 episodes, but depends on how much we enjoy it and how much we keep coming back to it. It could be extended to even 12 episodes.
I was going to say that, it could be 12 episodes, could be 2 episodes, but we're aiming for 6 at the moment, but we'll see how it goes after that. But I'm loving it so far, and I can't wait to talk more about. I can't wait until next week when we can slag off all the reviews, because the IGN review pissed me off, but we'll talk about that more next week.
Yeah, that will be for the main podcast, which is Xbox Box. If you follow our YouTube channel and other audio services, you can definitely get the main podcast where we get to discuss solely on the Starfield reviews. But for next week, we get to explore, talk about more what we discovered the game, and could go into more spoilers, especially with the story. But yeah, until then, this is our impressions episode. So thank you for listening to us to talk about it for an hour.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Comment, like, subscribe. And until next time, so long, Space Lords.
Take care.
Good outro.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the X Marks the Box podcast. Follow us at X Marks Box on Twitter or X Marks the Box on YouTube. And follow us on all audio podcast services. Thanks for listening.